Oh, hallelujah indeed. Hello, everyone
Hallelujah.
from the internet world. This is Dario from worldyouthday.com, joined by my good friend Deacon Pedro from WYDcentral.org. This is World Youth Day Rocks. How are you doing, my friend?
We're all good. We're all good. I'm wearing my World Youth Day Sydney shirt, which I wear a lot because Sydney definitely had the best swag of all the World Youth Days. I must say a lot of good things about World Youth Day 2008 Sydney, but the swag,
So it still fits and it still matches the color. For me, like I've outgrown
it's the
it and
best.
the color as I faded and my I think it
Well,
got
I don't,
torn up.
yeah, I don't wear it that much, but yeah, it's still great. And because even though it's still September, October, I don't even know where we are, but it's freezing in here already. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's like in Atlanta where you are, but I need something long sleeved this morning.
No, you know, the reason why they had it long sleeve, for those of you guys
Because
who haven't figured it out yet, that it's in the southern hemisphere
it was winter.
and it was
Yeah.
winter for them. So actually, and it turned out pretty good considering the heat
It- it-
it was mild, if
yeah,
anything.
it was actually it was not well, Rio was also technically it's also the sorry, not technically, it is the southern hemisphere and it was winter, but it's not a super hot, I mean, it's not a super cold winter.
No.
At least for all the Canadians were, walking around in t-shirts and shorts and all the Latinos were like, it's freezing.
Yeah,
Um,
no, seriously, right?
yeah.
But the humidity in Rio was like, ugh. It was pretty
See, it
good.
didn't bother me like well, but I grew up in Panama,
That's
so the
true. That's
humidity
true.
doesn't bother me. It's not like that dry heat
Yeah,
in
oh
Madrid
gosh.
or in Rome
Madrid and
in
Rome had
August.
dry heat in August that had a lot of
Yes,
people
yes,
suffer.
yes.
But for me, the best environment by far for a World Youth Day was definitely, I have to definitely say it was Sydney, Australia, without a doubt. I had the most comfortable pilgrim walk that I've ever experienced,
See,
considering that it was a pretty nice walk and it was in the morning and it was not super hot. The sun wasn't
yes,
boiling, scolding you in the face like it
yeah,
was in Madrid or in Rome or
or
even worse, like in Krakow, where there was no shade whatsoever as you were
no,
moving from
yeah,
one part of the city to the other.
yeah. Sydney, I have to admit, I've never done any of the walks.
Ah,
Well, because we're with a camera crew
that's
and you're
true.
like sort of either you want to get ahead or you get what you need and then you leave. So I'm not like you. You're like you're with your camera and your tripod, but you're actually doing the walk. And
Well, that's why we get GoPros, man. I mean, that's the only way to
no,
do
that's
it.
why, yeah, that's why you go for walks. Have you started your marathon training to go to
Oh
World Youth Day
Lord,
yet this year?
since you bring that up, that's the topic of today, my friends. We are going to
Good
talk about,
segue. Did
right?
you
I
like my
know we have
segue?
to. We have to. Like, I don't have a bumper
Good
for that.
segue.
So we're we're going right into like what is necessary to physically prepare for World Youth Day. All
Yeah.
right. So that
Yeah.
was the question that Deacon Pedro just asked. Like, am I starting to do my marathon? Well, first off, like
Power walking
power walking
every morning.
every morning, right? Well, one of the things that I find very interesting about World Youth Day is that a lot of people show up to World Youth Day not realizing that they're going to be walking a
Yes.
lot, and there's going to be a lot of standing. A lot of
Yes.
standing. Very few times you're going to find places to sit. And when you're going
Yes.
to find those places to sit, you're going to sit for a lengthy period of time and lose track of the time that had elapsed.
And you might, well, I mean, I don't care, but like if you care about sitting on a, sidewalk or like some dirty bench, I mean, if you get a bench or at least, like there's not going to be grass in a lot of places. So it'll be just the side. I think most young people, pilgrims, they just sit wherever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll just sit wherever. Um, I was thinking about the walking. I mean, you're gonna be so there's the pilgrimage because that's like part of the program, and you should do it, even though I just said that I'd never done it. Um,
We'll get you to do it this time with us.
yeah, maybe. But other than that, there's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Just walking from wherever you're staying to get to the subway or to get to the bus, or you're standing waiting for the bus. Um, Absolutely, there's a lot of physical exertion. Um, and then I mean, like when I need to confess here to everybody, when Dario said to me, we're gonna talk about physical preparation, I was like, okay, I got to think about that because we do joke about, kind of getting ready to walk a lot and stand a lot. You're walking, like cobblestone streets, if you're in Rome or in Krakow. I don't know what Lisbon is like,
Oh,
but
wait
so
until I
even
tell
that's
you.
hard on your feet.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same as walking on pavement. So like what shoes are you taking? So I was thinking about the physical preparation might be just more practical preparation. Like what shoes are you taking? What clothing are you wearing? Are you wearing layers? Are you taking a windbreaker that's also good for if it rains? But that you can take off and throw in your backpack or tie around your waist because it's going to get hot. In some places, it's freezing in the morning, and then like over the course of the day, it's like the temperature has gone up like 30 degrees.
Yeah,
So
it'll go up to 45. I mean, my goodness, like 45 Celsius is pretty darn hot,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
you got to
So
expect that change.
there's a little bit of that preparation, um, and then considering that you might not be eating what you normally eat,
On the
or
schedule that you eat.
on the schedule that you eat exactly as much as you eat. And I don't know, like I'm not picky about food. I don't know, Dario, you're Italian. I don't, you're probably not picky about food either. But I've
Well,
traveled, no, I've traveled to World Youth Day. I've traveled with World Youth Day with young people that have like eating or diet restrictions.
yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
That's difficult. And then or they don't like eating certain foods. It's like if you're going to Lisbon and you don't like fish, I don't know, right? Or you don't like
It's a tough
olives,
one.
so that'll be tough. And I'm not saying like don't go because all you're gonna eat is fish, but um those are things to think about that are very practical because it'll make your experience you won't have to worry about. It's good if you go without having to worry about certain things
Yeah.
like my feet hurt or I forgot my water bottle. um or there's no clean water anywhere. I mean, there should be. I think World Youth Days have caught on the water issue, that to have volunteers handing out water or have fountains or
Or
places
water
where you can
stations for that
water
matter.
stations.
Yes.
Exactly,
Well,
exactly.
let's first start off by looking at the topography of which is Lisbon. First off, Lisbon is built on a hill. So it's kind of like a sloped downhill towards the water. So there's going to be some hills you're going to walk. Like if you're going from the waterfront up to the cathedral church, it's a hill. If you're going to the church where you're going to visit the site of Saint Anthony of Lisbon's birthplace slash where he was
Padua.
baptized, right? No, Saint Anthony of Lisbon. Be
Oh, it's a
careful,
different one. Right, right. It's not Saint Anthony of
right?
Padua.
No, same
It's
one,
not
same
to be
one. But
confused
they
with
will
the
tell you.
Portuguese Saint Anthony of Padua.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The Portuguese Saint Anthony of Padua, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But his baptismal place or the church where he was baptized is really close to the cathedral, but it's on a hill, and then the castle that overlooks the hill, which was the typical way that cities were built in Europe, right? Is on a hill, and then you got to come down from that hill, and you got to move on from one side of the hill to the other side of the hill because it's in a kind of like a
Oh
little
yeah.
valley
Okay.
style feel. And so there are the flat areas is by the waterfront, but then if you want to walk around the city and get a real feel for it, there is some hills you will walk. So I
That's
suggest having good shoes to wear. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't tell you: break in those shoes before you fly out.
yes,
Please,
yes,
like don't bring brand new shoes and then put them on for
yes,
the first time when you are hitting Lisbon, thinking, yes, I just
yes.
made it through a 9 to 10 hour flight, if that's how many hours you're flying, with these brand new shoes. And
Yeah, that's good advice.
yeah,
But so the marathon training is not just to train your muscles, but to get those shoes broken in a month or so before. I'm very impressed that you used the word topography, first of all. Um, but it's a good point because when so a lot of like this generation, I was in Rome last time I was in Rome. I decided to walk. I was going to mass at the Ukrainian church with the Ukrainian community, and I decided to walk to Saint Sophia. And I mapped it, and it was like, okay, it'll be a nice about an hour walk. I can do that. That's a good little pilgrimage. And the GPS tells you how to get there and how long the walk is going to be, but it doesn't tell you that they're hills. It doesn't, right? It
yeah,
doesn't
right,
say that you got
exactly.
to go up the hill and then down the hill and then another hill. And Rome is what? How many hills in Rome?
Well, there's more than
So
seven, but yeah,
right,
yeah.
so there's a lot of hills for me to get to this church. So that's a very good advice. That don't just don't just go by how far you have to go, but is it far going uphill? Is it far going, around, up downhill? That's good advice. Yeah,
Now,
thank you.
the first time I did World Youth Day, like as a journalist, I actually spent 4 months in a gym on a treadmill with different elevations. This
Are
was
you
for
serious?
Cologne, Germany. I kid you not. And I and I thought to myself, I'm going to be walking like an average of 15 miles a day. Or max. That's max. All right, please don't freak
Wow.
out on me and think like you guys are going to be walking that much. Last time I was in Lisbon, I mapped out like if I was to walk everywhere. And because there's only like two metro lines in Lisbon, right? And they
Okay.
go from north to south and east to west, and that's really it. And then there are trains that will take you the furthest extensions of the outer parts of the city, which are great. Like there's three train stations that you can go to. That you can take a train. Now, there's a regional train that will take you to Cascais, which is like towards the waterfront of the Pacific Ocean. Excuse me, the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
Or whoops. And the other train stations that will take you out of the city into other cities or into out of the country
Yeah.
on the way to Spain. But one of the things that I would also recommend is don't plan on doing the treadmill thing and thinking that that's going to help you. It has to be natural terrain.
Yeah.
Natural terrain is key. Like I figured like you're going to get different environments. So you get to walk on dirt, you get walk on sand, but you're not going to really walk on sand. Let's be honest. Like the odds of you walking on sand on this trip versus like if you were to
Yeah.
go to
In
Rio,
Rio, there was a lot
like
of walking on
there was a
sand. Yeah.
lot of sand walking on Rio. That was a little tiring, but you're
Yeah,
not going
no,
to walk on
walking on sand
sand.
is different. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, if people want to go to the gym, that's cool. If you wanted to, I don't think that we're actually saying that you need to like
No.
do like like go into like training to go to World Youth Day. But I think that there's something about the mindset. Like every time I go into a World Youth Day, I think, okay, I need to, I'm not going to sleep. You're gonna sleep not as much as you like to sleep. Like if you're someone that said that it's like I need my 9 hours of sleep every day, well, you're not gonna get your 9 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna be regular. You might be sleeping on the floor. Um, and then what we said about food, you may or may not be eating as much as you want to, or the things that you like to eat. Um, I'm a big fan of just, if you're a group leader, maybe have boxes of granola bars, uh, or a bag of apples. I've never done this for World Youth Day, but for the papal visit that just happened here in Canada, I went and bought a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter, and I'm telling you, I didn't think I was going to use that. And there were 2, 3, 4 days where I was like, that was my lunch
Yeah.
because there was no time for anything else. I didn't have time to go looking for food, whatever. And you know what? Peanut butter sandwiches, an apple, and a granola bar. That's a pretty good lunch. And then your bottle of water. So sleeping. So it's like the mindset to know that I'm gonna go. I'll sleep 2 weeks from now. I'll get my rest 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a little kind of mental switch that you like the adrenaline. You're giving permission to your body to sort of have a little more adrenaline that you're going to be okay, and that's part of the experience. And I think that is supposed to, it's a spiritual experience, like going on any pilgrimage. If anybody has done the Camino, there's a physical there's a reason why the physical exertion is good, because it helps you go deeper spiritually, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And you're right. There is a sense of mortification that goes on, a spiritual discipline, I guess you could call it more than
I
anything
would not
about
call
saying,
it mortification.
well,
Now nobody's going to want to go,
okay, so
Dario.
it is a physical discipline of your body that
Yes,
that
thank you.
spiritually helps you, right? I mean, if we want to call it like, whipping yourself, you're not
Yeah,
whipping
no, we're
yourself.
not. There's no whipping. No
There's
whipping
no
yourself
whipping.
at
What
World
you
Youth
what
Day.
you're doing
No.
basically saying to yourself, look, I want to be that spiritual athlete so that I can strive me towards sainthood, so that I can be who I'm called to be, which is holy. So, will you be enjoying your favorite snacks all the time? Probably not. Will you be eating the exact foods you want all the time? Will you get that nice seat at that restaurant where there's thousands of young people walking around also eating at the same place? How long will you wait in line to
Yeah.
get food? You will be hungry, and that's going to be okay. But Deacon Pedro nailed it. Like, I would definitely bring a loaf of bread, but instead of peanut butter, for me, it's Nutella.
Nutella, yes.
Come on,
Too much
you might
sugar.
You might not find peanut butter in Europe, but
Bring
sometimes
it.
like you might bring it with you. Absolutely.
Bring it
You
with
know
you.
what?
Yeah,
No
it's
one's
true.
going to say it's liquid though. Like put it in your checked bags. I'm sorry to tell you guys, like you might want to check a bag then if you have a
Yeah, if
dietary
it's sealed, it
restriction.
should be okay. It's
Absolutely.
non-perishable.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
most
Peanut
important thing
butter,
is,
Nutella.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
or like a granola bar or something just to
Granola
sustain
bars,
you.
and then yeah, you can. I'm sure in Lisbon, you can go to the little corner store, get a bag of cashews or almonds.
Oh yeah.
All that stuff is nourishing. Same with the granola bars. I mean, you might
Yep.
get there and be like, I don't know what granola bars or what to get. Bring them from home. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And you can find those little stores in every part of the
everywhere,
city in
everywhere.
Lisbon. And the nice thing in Lisbon is that there's also a variety of different options of food. But we, here at World UT Rocks, we still don't know what the World UT Committee will be
What the
doing with the food
meals?
situation. So
Yeah.
until we find out, we can't really give you a recommendation there. But I can tell you, like in the previous World Youth Day, it's been either a coupon or a card, and you had to go to specific locations that
Yes.
had food available for pilgrims, and it would be called pilgrim menu.
Yes.
Always bring though your debit card. I wouldn't bring cash anymore, and I'll be honest with you, like very rarely will you find places that work
That
with
would take care.
cash.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and again, because of
Yeah.
the fact that it's hard to find, and although cash is always gold,
Yeah.
having
No,
a
you should have
card,
some cash. Yeah.
yes, some cash is definitely important, but the
Some
card is
cash.
also helpful.
The card is helpful, and hopefully, and be careful with your card, because if you, like in Rio, there were some issues with people, not stealing cards, but stealing the information.
Well, and that's the
Um,
thing about these tap
yeah.
cards, the tap debit card or credit card. There's
Yes.
people that will bump into you with the machine, and take your information
Yeah,
that
although,
way.
so Dario, next time you're in Lisbon, find out if, because in some countries the tap is not as like here in North America and Canada, everything's tap. But
Yep,
in like in Panama, the tap is not something you do very much because of that very reason.
exactly.
So the banks, the shops, they're not equipped with the security measures that they need to enable the tap. So um, I mean, I think those are all very practical, especially if you're taking a group as a leader. Those are very practical things that you're going to be thinking about in terms of cash, debit. Make sure you have credit. Make sure you have backup. Um, and even if it's a really good meal plan, like the one they had in Rio, where you have like a debit card or a little credit card that you just use. Don't
Anywhere.
use it all on this. Don't use it all on the first day.
Yes.
Kind of ration it. But also, it's
Yeah,
good to have some cash, because maybe you won't have time to stand in line, or it's going to be too
exactly.
busy, or it's going to always be McDonald's. What happens, right? It's like the only restaurants that are doing meal pilgrim menus are McDonald's. So you want to have some other options. It's good to have options, fallback
Absolutely. And
options.
for those of you guys who have like what we call like health restrictions, these are
Yeah.
important information to tell to your
Oh,
operating tour
absolutely.
company, or if you are registering by yourself to World Youth Day, by going to World Youth Days, always communicate with them that you are a pilgrim with a health restriction. And whether it would be a disability or not, they can accommodate you. You'll notice that World Youth Day is very, very keen on making sure that we provide for those who have needs, especially whether it's medical or physical or health
Exactly.
wise. And the most important thing is, like, for those of you guys who are like by dietary by choice, that is not something World Youth Day will be able to accommodate you per se, because they can only do so much, especially if you choose, like, I don't want to eat too much bread. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, like a lot of bread you'll see in Europe is actually much healthier than the bread that
Yeah,
in some
exactly.
countries you'll see. That might be something
That's
that you might
true.
want to look at. You might want to consider talking to your doctor, going a week before, especially if you're celiac, and saying, look, I'm about to go to Europe for World Youth Day. Could you let me know what kind of medications I should bring with me? Because I will be taking, possibly eating some things that are, made from
Yeah.
gluten.
Yeah,
You won't
exactly.
have that luxury of having those meals the way you have them at home.
Yeah,
You will
exactly.
be pushed. You will be pushed, and I mean pushed, because I think back like what I ate when I was in Madrid. We had pate that was hot pate with hot yogurt mixed with like a jamon iberico, which was like, and I thought to myself, what an interesting mix, right? And then we get to Panama, and nothing against Panama, but they had a nice little can of, like, sausages. that were like the Vienna sausage can, right? And it
Oh,
was
those
like
are the best.
with pineapple
Yeah,
sauce.
not
And I
every
thought to
day though.
myself,
Yes.
no, no,
No.
no. But that was like for the sun, for the evening vigil.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
almost I wanted to make a video of it because they also had like a liver pate as well. And I didn't know what
yeah.
it was. Like it looked like tuna, but it wasn't. And it smelled interesting. And I thought to myself, you're going to see that at World Youth Day. They had that even in
Yeah, and it
Krakow.
might be yes, yes, exactly, and it might be just that it's a different food. It's not like it's gross or bad or
No,
anything. It's
yeah,
just a different food that you're not used to. But to go back to people that have dietary
yes,
needs or health needs, again, we don't want to scare you. Most of the world, gluten-free options are available, but it is true. I have friends that cannot eat wheat in North America, and then they go to Italy and they can eat all the wheat because the wheat is different. So if it's not celiac and you do have a sensitivity to wheat, you might be okay to eat the wheat in Portugal. Um, it's kind of hard to plan ahead because you're just going to get there and then find like how are you going to find out until you actually do it.
that's true.
But maybe ask around. There might be other people who've had that experience. And then the last thing I was going to say, again, we don't want to scare you off. If you do have mobility issues or any disabilities, if you use a wheelchair, those accommodations are usually made. And there are places, I mean, you might not be able to participate in every aspect of World Youth Day, but you will be able to participate and there will be accommodations. There's usually sections reserved for people that have disabilities or mobility issues or people who use wheelchairs, especially in the big events. And how to get you there, accessibility, all that, as is for people who are hearing impaired.
Yes, or
Visual
visual. Yes,
impairment is a little more difficult, but those accommodations are there. So if you're not hearing that information from the website or not getting that information through as a group leader or through your tour company, ask. Um,
absolutely. You
and,
should
and Dario,
absolutely.
we should make a point. Maybe we can dedicate a whole episode to how Lisbon is going to be dealing with people with disabilities. I know
Absolutely.
Toronto. I mean, mind you, Canada is different, but Toronto made a huge effort to involve. We actually had someone on staff who was only in charge of accessibility issues and disabilities. Um, and that's not the case in every World Youth Day, but it's getting better. It's getting better.
I mean, obviously, we want you all to participate in all the events, but most importantly, the major events, the opening
Yes.
mass, the welcoming of the Holy Father, the vigil, the pilgrim walk, which might be a little difficult, and even lastly, the final mass. So even if you
Yes.
have a chaperone who's elderly, because, we've talked about even encouraging visiting, having your grandma or grandpa or someone in the parish be there as a chaperone. There
Yeah.
are
Older.
ways to have them be present with you. You might not be able to
Exactly.
walk with them all the time, but at least they will be present and will be able to participate in the events, the major events. And
Exactly.
I would also, before we conclude this show, I would also remind all of you guys that it doesn't hurt to get a physical prior to going to World Youth Day and talking to your doctor and saying, I'm about to undergo a pilgrimage that will push me to the limits. With heat, with food, with
Lack of
water,
sleep.
and the lack of sleep. Like, am I physically healthy? What do I need to do to be there? And I would do this 6 months before the event, just to give you a little preparation time, because it will be physically demanding. And you might not sleep in a luxurious bed. You might not be able to, get a good shower every single day. You might not be able to, drink that fancy water that you like to drink because, what is it, Fiji water that some people are really excited about out here, where you pay like $8 for the bottle. You might not
Oh,
see that in you might not see that in Lisbon, but we will definitely be revisiting this topic again because there are other topics, especially the
absolutely.
accessibility issues that we need to
Absolutely.
talk about that will be
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
big deal.
And next time, I think that when we talk about spiritual preparation, I mean, you can't do one without the other. So I think that
Yeah.
once you understand what what the spiritual preparation entails, that's also going to help you greatly in how you prepare physically. So that'll be next time.
And remember, we're body and soul. So
Yes.
body preparation, and now we're gonna get into the soul the next show.
Amen. All right.
Yeah.
This has been good.
This has been good. Thanks so much for all of you guys coming into our show today and listening in. Make sure that you guys click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and encourage your friends to watch it, and encourage all diocesan directors, youth ministers, and anyone you know to watch our shows. We are going to try to post all our previous shows on here. But the most important thing is that we're preparing you for World Youth Day Lisbon 2023. That's coming next August. We're super excited about it. We are getting ready to make haste to make our journey towards our like Our Lady, to visit Elizabeth, to make haste, right? And
that's it. Just think of Mary preparing to go to see Elizabeth.
Yes.
Make haste, but prepare before you make haste.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Get
From all of us at worldyouthday.com and WYD.org, WYDcentral.org. Thanks again for joining us. God bless you guys. Until next time.
Take care.
See you guys later.